This one completely flew under my radar. I don't know when it was first announced, but the producer of the Netflix Castlevania series, that's a thing?
Yeah, I feel like you didn't hear about that.
No.
Oh, I feel like I heard about it a while.
I heard about it this week. It must have flown under my radar.
Is it supposed to be like the same storyline? Like, does the Castlevania, they have like a set storyline, like all the games?
They do, and usually it's basically, it's kind of similar to Legend of Zelda in that there's always a Belmont. Like the first one is about Simon Belmont and him trying to defeat Dracula, and then the second one I think is also still Simon Belmont, but the third one deals with Trevor Belmont, but he's still of the Belmont house, who's the Belmont's job is just to defeat Dracula every time he rises. So, and the games get more complicated than that. The storylines do, at least. Now, this one, the show seems to be based on Castlevania 3, which is the one with Trevor.
Dracula's Curse.
Yeah, and it was based, or it had Trevor Belmont, and also this is where Dracula's son Alucard makes his appearance, and he was of course a good guy, someone you could play as, and he's also the antagonist, or not the antagonist, the protagonist for many people's favorite Castlevania, which is called Symphony of the Night. That's a super popular Castlevania game. So now there's a bit of concern, at least from me. Some people will probably read this and be like, yay, this is awesome. I'm somewhat hesitant, and granted, I'm not the biggest Castlevania fan. I haven't really even played the games. I want to.
You haven't played them?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I want to play the ones on the NES Classic first.
Maybe we could stream that.
Maybe. That would be interesting. But the producer basically said that the Castlevania show is going to be really rated R.
Also, is this the producer here saying he guarantees that it will end the streak and be the Western world's first good video game adaptation?
Yes. His name is
quite a claim.
Adi Shankar, who produced The Grey and Dread.
Now, I actually almost want to believe that because it's Netflix. Netflix has made most of their things have been pretty good.
Like their Marvel shows have been done
Fuller
really well.
House, bro. Fuller House, sick.
I haven't watched it.
Sick. No, I'm actually
do
not
I
even...
detect sarcasm there?
No, I'm actually not even kidding. I do like it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. But we're not gonna get. I could say a lot more, but we're not talking about Fuller House. But yeah, but Netflix, like all their Marvel stuff, that's all been pretty good. So I feel like it will actually.
I think so too, and I hope.
But the thing where they're going off on here is that he's saying they're the Western world's first good video game adaptation, but this is a show. It's a lot easier to do it with a show than a movie because the problem that they mostly face in adaptations is that they're movies and they try to cram all of this crap into one.
They try to
movie.
rush it.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because when it's a show, it's a lot easier because you have episodes upon episodes to make.
Yeah.
So it's not really fair, but it's.
Or
still
you
should
do
be.
like they did with the Mario movie, and they completely were like, okay, we can't make this into a movie, so we're just going to take like the most basic premise and then make something completely different that doesn't work for anybody. So I think with this, and this also, like, I'm hoping that this maybe it's to the point where, because we've talked about the Netflix, the rumored Netflix Legend of Zelda series before. Hopefully this means that that's not quite a rumor. Maybe we're to the point where Nintendo just has to see how well this show does or how well this show comes out.
And do you want to see that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I want to see
I would watch that. That sounds pretty
live-action
cool.
Zelda movie and or TV show.
Preferably TV show, because a movie would just be...
I think they could do it with Zelda. I honestly think that they could.
Maybe like just summarize the whole like adventure in one movie, I guess.
Yeah, just have
maybe
them go into
movies.
a few dungeons. You can sprinkle in plot elements and stuff like that. Have a lot of action sequences. It can be done. Now, here's what concerns me is that the fact that he's saying it's going to be rated R, and he chose to compare it to Game of Thrones. Now, I don't have a problem with Game of Thrones level of violence. I do have a problem when they bring all of this sexuality and nudity into it, and just, I mean, Game of Thrones has like incest in it, and like really just.
But would Castlevania need that? Like, I don't.
It shouldn't. That's the thing. It really shouldn't. I mean, And then that's the other thing. Like, a lot of people nowadays, when they think vampires, they think things like Twilight and the Vampire Diaries.
Sparkling.
And
Sparkling.
whatever that show on Showtime is, that's like really... Like True Blood, I think is what, but that like is also like a very like hypersexualized thing for vampires, and it's just like, can we stop looking at vampires this way? Can we just look at them as monsters that need to be killed? And yes, you can have a good one in there.
I just killed a vampire in Final Fantasy, and it wasn't. It wasn't like
didn't glitter in the sunlight, did it?
And he didn't like strip for me. he just stood there when I killed him. With
like
Harm 2.
modern take of the vampire in Final Fantasy is just like, I've been waiting for you, and like the heroes are just like,
he steps out of like the cave where he's like sparkling and stuff, and then they just kill him.
And then the heroes are just like, what are you doing? Sprinkle some holy water on him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't want it to get to. I'm okay with rated R violence. I'm just not okay with the other rated R stuff. You just don't. You don't need it to make your movies good, your stuff good. And the thing is I do think Netflix may do that, because I watched Jessica Jones and Luke Cage on Netflix, and as good as those shows are, like the first few episodes, just they had a lot of sex in it, and it's just like. And then once like those few episodes were out of the way, there wasn't anything like that, because like, oh, now the storyline's interesting now we don't have to rely on that. Well, it's like, well, you don't have to rely on that anyway.
It's so dumb.
People are going to watch the show without that nonsense in there anyway. And if I'm offending some of you out there because, you don't have...
If that's what's pulling you to the show, then... That's really stupid.
The thing is, like, okay,
and there's other things that, like, it's just. Well, like,
you know what? There's others. I'm not going to say what it is, but there's other stuff you can watch out there if that's what you're after. There's other stuff out there. Don't mix and match it with the stuff that should be like action adventure, tells a good story.
And like, I can understand needing something like that to take place in the storyline, but there's no need to show any of it or whatever. Like,
right.
You can have it take place without. You
can do it tastefully. You can you can have things happen. Not everything has to be shown in the camera.
Yeah.
And that can even be said for some violence too. Like, and yet people out there might be thinking, oh well, he's probably talking about censorship. Well, at the same, you don't have to show everything on camera. Mm-hmm. You really don't. They didn't. They used to. Look at Alfred Hitchcock's movies. All of his violence took place off camera, but it didn't make it any less disturbing. In fact, it made it a little bit more disturbing because your imagination would fill in the details.
Yeah.
Like the infamous shower scene from Psycho.
And because sometimes stuff like that can look unrealistic, which just makes it weird.
That too. I mean, we are to the point where like ultra violence is fairly realistic. But I just hope that when they say rated R, they're just talking about the violence
or language.
That's it.
I mean, because language.
Yeah, I'll deal with language.
Yeah.
Even though we don't really like that here, I do play Resident Evil 7, and there's plenty of bad language in that too.